Hi there, I'm Summer.
And I'm Carolyn.
And today we thought we would tell you our coming out stories.
Or at least yours. I don't have much of a memory of it. I need to check my sources. Which means call my mom. I was 20-ish. William was around 3, I think. And yeah, I knew it wasn't really going to be a huge deal. My aunts are gay and they're the people in the family that everyone loves the most.
So it wasn't dramatic, it wasn't dramatic, it wasn't a big struggle.
Unless there's something I'm forgetting, which is why I should check my sources. Maybe there was some drama happening behind the scenes. Maybe people's reactions were dramatic. I remember some people being surprised.
Okay, so we may have to come back to Carolyn's coming out story. So I guess then this is mostly going to be about my coming out story. When I was 9, I had a same-sex encounter that was mutually agreeable, and
that's how the 9-year-old self talked about it.
I was sleeping over at my friend's house. Her mom insisted that we take showers before bed, and so she took a shower and then I took a shower, but as we were changing, she was getting out and I was getting in, she showed me how she would basically masturbate. She would slip her bottom to the edge of the tub and let the water run on her, right? And how that was stimulating, and I'd never heard or seen that before. So I was like, oh, she's like, yeah, you should try it. So I tried it and I was like, oh. So then after when we got to bed, then we started messing around and stuff. And so that was fun and whatever, but I felt ashamed afterwards, and I never wanted to sleep at her house again. And so she would invite me to sleep over. Like, she was a bit older than me. I was 9 and she was probably 11. So she would invite me to sleep over, but I never wanted to sleep over again because I was ashamed afterwards. And then when I was 15, I remember noticing that I had really strong feelings for all of my friends, and they were all getting boyfriends, and it was really bothering me. I didn't know why they wanted boyfriends, or we're fine on our own kind of thinking. And then realizing, oh wow, I'm caring about these women or girls, whatever, more than they care about me. And then I was kind of hurt. And then I remember talking to one of my brothers. I have 3 brothers, and I was talking to one of my brothers, and I said to him, I think I'm lesbian. And he had a huge reaction, and he was like, what? No, you're not. No. So you're just whatever. And I can't remember all the details. I just remember no. And so I immediately, that's, going into the closet thing, right? So I shut down all those feelings, and then soon after I found a boyfriend. And after that I found another one. I was in a long-term relationship, and I was with that one particular guy for almost 5 years. But towards the end of that relationship, I found myself always fantasizing about women, and that was the only way that I could have an orgasm, was to think about women. I just thought, I'm thinking of ending this relationship, and he doesn't do it for me anymore, so that makes sense to me that I'm not as aroused by him. But anyway, we broke up. I did continue to date men, and then it wasn't until after my kids were born, it was just before my 27th birthday, and my brother, one of my brothers, offered a concert ticket. He and a group of his friends were going to a concert, and as a birthday gift, he offered me a concert ticket. There were a couple of cars going to Montreal for this concert. I had quit. I used to be a smoker, so I had said I want to be in the non-smoking car, and he's like, yeah, sure, that's no problem, you'll travel with me. And he named this woman, and so I said, great. So I showed up on the day, and he said, oh, like the driver of the car, she's just gone into the washroom. You can get in the back seat. So I got in the back seat, and it was a little Honda Prelude, which is synonymous with lesbians of that time. Anyway, I got in the back seat, and then she came after a couple of minutes. She sat down in the front seat, and all I could see was one eye in the rear view mirror, because I'm in the back seat and I can see her eye and I can see her shoulder and her hair. But immediately I felt all of these feelings, and I'm like, what the heck? What's going on? So I spent 2 hours trying to see more of her, and like I was listening really hard about what my brother and she were talking about, but I couldn't really communicate with her. Anyway, so then we get to Montreal, and it's the first time she steps out of the car, and then I step out of the car, and then I see her face. And I'm like, my heart is racing, and I'm getting all sweaty, and like, so I was a little freaked out. But anyway, so my brother and his friends were really partying a lot. They're all drinking, and I wasn't really drinking. And so this woman wasn't drinking either. So we ended up talking. And, we had a lot in common, but like for me, the sparks were just flying. And I was like hanging on every word. On the way home the next day, my brother was hungover, so he slept in the back seat, and she and I sat in the front seats, and we chatted the whole way. Wow, like we have so much in common. We have lots of similar beliefs. We have interests. So I'm like, well, hey, if you ever want to hang out, blah, blah, here's my number. So then a couple of days later, she called me, and we started hanging out. And it wasn't until about maybe 3 weeks into hanging out where I'm falling in love. I think I fell in love with her when she sat in the car and I saw her one eye. I felt like I fell in love with her, just her one eye. And so it was so strong. Anyway, after about 3 weeks of hanging out, she kind of mentioned casually how she used to date my brother, and that concert was like she was trying to decide if she was going to break up with him, but that she got really angry at him and that they weren't getting along, and then they broke up, and I didn't know. So anyway, and then we went to see my brother. We were hanging out, and we went to visit him. They all worked at a restaurant. So my brother was working that night, and we went to visit my brother at work. And when she went to the washroom, he kind of came over to me, and he's like, it's fun that you're hanging out with her, but I think she might be a lesbian, so, And he thought he was warning me, and inside I was like, yippee! I was so happy. It was sort of an unrequited love in that she wasn't sure, and she led me along, and she lied, and she dated other guys, and anyway, it was a mess. So that first relationship was a mess, but after I broke up with her, I dated other women. But where it gets tricky and a little complicated is, about 10 years into dating women, I was doing a lot of really intense spiritual work, and 2 of my spiritual teachers said that I was supposed to be with a man. And that really sent me sort of spiraling, because I was trying to understand, is that their own personal opinion? Is that their bias? Is that, where's that coming from? Because I don't believe, I don't feel the same about men as I do about women. And so for 10 years, that really, it was always at the back of my mind. Am I bi? So that first boyfriend that I had the long relationship with, I ended up getting back in contact with him. The people that I had relationships with in the past, even though I don't want to be with them anymore, I still have a soft spot in my heart for them. And so we got together, and we walked, and we talked, and then we realized we had a lot of unfinished business, that, he had a lot of stuff he needed to say to me, and I had a lot of stuff. He and I were very, very close, and it was my first big relationship. And at the time, I didn't realize that how close we were and how open and we were a good match and all of that. And so that was like a yardstick. That's what I measured every relationship afterwards. I always compared it to him, whether it was a man or a woman. I always thought, oh, you know, it's not as deep, it's not as connected as it was with him. So therefore, I don't think it's going somewhere or other stuff would happen. Then that sort of freaked me up and I was like, okay, I know I'm lesbian, but maybe I'm like bi, mostly lesbian, but a little bit bi. Because, you know, there's some men, and men with muscles, like I really appreciate a muscle physique, but it's not just men actually, I realize now. So it wasn't until one day that I was just watching TV and it was the first time that I saw a commercial for Victoria's Secret. And I had a full-on physical reaction to those models walking down the runway with those angel wings and the lingerie. And I was like, okay, like holy, you know, like my whole body was like in reaction. And as if, not an orgasm, but almost. And I realized, you know, I appreciate muscles and men or women who, you know, have the dedication and whatever to get really muscular and fit. So I appreciate the physicality of that and its beauty, just like art or anything else. My reaction to women and my response to women is a sexual one. And so I could be with maybe a guy and be okay with that. I could maybe, you know, but I would never feel what I feel like when I'm with Carolyn. I would never have that full experience of love and sexual attraction and intimacy and just wanting more. I just would.
We gotta go now.
Yeah, it's something that I just wouldn't have with a man. And so I'm lesbian and I'm happy about that. And
me too.
It's okay. But I guess in sharing my story, I just want to make sure that people know that like I was out for 10 years and then I started questioning stuff and I kept going back and asking myself questions, and then came 10 years later, like it took me 20 years before I was like absolutely 100% sure. And so I just want to say to people that are coming out, like, it's hard. Even if you have an easy situation, there's still going to be scenarios that make life hard or not safe, or just questioning like my orientation, or having somebody question my orientation or whatever. It's a process and it doesn't happen overnight. And some people, it does. You know, you have your gold stars and your platinum stars and all of that. But for the majority of us, I would guess that it's a process and it takes a while to figure out. And it's not a race. And you just, as long as you're feeling good and safe about who you're with, then that's all that matters. Follow your heart. Yeah. It'll lead you to great things. Mm-hmm.
I love you.
I love you.
If you're watching this on Facebook, and you want to share it with your friends, family, maybe somebody else out there might want to hear Summer's wonderful story, you can check us out at Let's Go Lesbo 1 on Instagram.
Tell us about your coming out stories, or if you're thinking about coming out, then if you have questions, I'm happy to answer anything that I could answer.
Love you guys. Let's go Lesbo.
All right.
Bye.